Hello, hi everyone. My name is Dawn. Welcome to my little art yurt. This is where I teach art to both children and adults. And yes, for those of you who don't know, I've actually taught watercolor painting for like 9 years. I've taught watercolor painting for 9 years, apart from side by side teaching little children art. Watercolors have always been my number one favorite medium to use, and I do a lot of my own art practice. I do a lot of paintings using watercolors. So yeah, usually I teach a lot of adults how to paint with this beautiful medium. And over the years, I've had so many requests from you guys, from everyone online and stuff. Can you please do an online class, because I'm not in Melbourne, I can't come to your class. So yes, here I am. So yes, this class today is gonna be a little bit different from my face-to-face classes, of course, because you're not here, I'm not there, but I'm here in front of you, the screen. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me, drop me a message on Instagram after you watch this video, or you can pause it and ask me a question, paint a picture, ask me a question. I'm always here to help. But yes, I'm going to pretty much be sharing the same exact stuff that I share with my students when I do a face-to-face class. So I'm just going to quickly run through with you what I'm going to cover and how it's going to run. So for those of you who have just signed up to my class, welcome. This class is a packaging painting workshop. So we're going to be using watercolors. I'm going to teach you how to use watercolors. And using this amazing medium, we're gonna be painting packaging. So food packaging, or even I don't know, any sort of packaged items that you can find from home. Have a look around. You can even be toilet paper. There are some toilet paper packets that can be quite fun to paint, or even toothpaste. That's packaging. So yes, I'm gonna teach you guys how to use watercolors effectively. I'm gonna at the start is a little bit, a lot of talking, because I'm going to share with you what watercolors are, what sort of brushes to get, what sort of paper to use, what sort of palette to use, what sort of paints to buy, what brand, and all that kind of stuff. Once you understand the entire idea of, once you understand your materials in depth, I'm also going to talk to you about, I'm going to show you 4 simple tricks how to use your watercolors effectively. And then once I've shown you all that, I'm going to show you a quick demonstration. I'm going to show you how I actually paint my packaging painting. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, what packaging painting are you talking about, go online, have a look on my website. Under all my art prints, that's a whole bunch of packaged items that I've painted. That's the sort of style that I use, or rather I do. So yes, I'm going to teach you how to do stuff like that. And I'm gonna do it step by step, and by the end of the video you should be able to do your own version. So yes, if you're a complete beginner, do not freak out. If you've got it under control, I've got it under control. You've got it under control, or so you think. No, I think you don't worry, chill. You will definitely have it under control, because if you just follow instructions, which I'm sure you can, you'll be able to do it. I promise you, okay? I promise. So without further ado, I'm gonna start straight into it. This is my first time doing this online video watercolor lesson, so if it goes all over the shop, don't mind me. So yes, first thing first, all of you would have received like a copy of these notes along with this video. Yes, I'm basically gonna go through these notes really quickly now. You can scribble whatever you want. So first thing first, watercolor paints. Watercolor paints, I use all sorts of different brands and stuff, but my favorite is Winsor and Newton. Can you see it? Oh, this is like the beauty blogger thing. Ooh, can you see it? So yeah, Winsor and Newton. Now, just a bit of an explanation about how paints are made. Basically, paints, they are made using a pigment powder, a loose colored powder, along with a vehicle. A vehicle is sort of like a liquid that helps to combine and bind the whole thing together. That's how you get your paints. Sometimes they add extra things like honey or egg yolks. In the past, long time ago, in the I think like the Renaissance period, the Italian painters and stuff, Leonardo da Vinci, they painted with egg tempera paints. So that means they use pigment powder the colored powder. They add egg yolk to it, and that's how you get your paints. Yes, you've heard me right, they use egg yolk. Egg yolk is a very, very sticky medium that binds pigment powders together. I do not know why it doesn't rot, but that's how they used to do it. In fact, they used to store it in pig's intestines. Yep. They used to store the little, the handmade paints that they've mixed around with in the little pig intestines, and they used to tie it up, and they used to tie it on their little belt over here, and they would go out and do their painting and squeeze a little bit onto their easel. Yeah. So I'm just really thankful that we are in modern times and we've got paint tubes. So now that you know how paints are made, I just want to quickly explain to you. If you were to look online, well, now that we can't go into shops really because of coronavirus, or maybe we still can, I don't know, depending on your country and your country's regulations. But if you were to go to a shop and you were to look at paints, you will notice that with watercolor paints, there's different series. There's the artist series and the student, or rather artist quality paints and the student quality paints. The difference between the artist and the student quality paints is obviously the price. Artist paints are more expensive simply because they contain more pigment powder, less liquid, so the paints come out a lot more vibrant. Whereas the student quality paints, a lot less powder, more water, more diluted, so the colors come out not as bright. That's why it's more expensive to get the artist quality, because you don't need that much paints. At the same time, if you were to look at both artist and student quality paints, you'll notice that there's series 1, series 2, series 3. The higher the number, the more expensive the paints. If you look at the paint tube, you see, can you see? On it says, I think it's a little bit blurry, but oh well, my camera can't zoom, but at the bottom here it actually says series 1. So colors like yellow, orange, browns, these are usually your series 1 because they are easy to obtain. So they can, like the paints, the pigments that they are made from can be obtained from leaves, twigs, trees, the soil. So they're easily obtainable, that's why they're series 1. However, if you have colors like this one here, can you see? This little crazy aqua color, or even like the lavender, there's nothing in nature that's really that sort of color that you can obtain your pigment powder from. You have to add chemicals. So those ones, they're usually series 4 or 5, and that's why they're more expensive. So now that you understand the difference between your series numbers and your artist and student quality, I hope I'm not confusing anyone yet. The reason why I use Winsor & Newton Canson paint is because this is a student quality paint. Even though it's a student quality paint and it's only like about $6 or something, as compared to this very fancy, beautiful brand called Daniel Smith, sounds like a very handsome guy. He's very handsome and very, beautiful, gorgeous thing. But this guy here is $26. That's an artist quality, and this is a student quality, $26, $6. That's the difference. So don't fall for the very handsome guy. Go for the very humble guy. So yes, Winsor & Newton Cotman series, I've been using them since I was 13 years old, and I am 33 this year. So I've been using them for about 20 years now. Trust me, very reliable, fail-proof kind of paint quality. You can of course also use those paint discs. I don't have, I should have gotten one, but I don't have those round paint discs with me at home. You can certainly get those paint discs and work with those. I personally just don't like it because I use it for teaching in schools, and sometimes kids, they just ruin the palette. So yeah, I like being all fancy. And because I was taught this way many moons ago when I was in high school, I've stuck with it since because it's a habit. What I do with my paints is I buy all the colors that's written on my list. Excuse me. Yes, I buy all the colors that's written on my list, and I get a good quality palette, a plastic palette, because it's easy to wash, easy to maintain, and I pretty much just squeeze all the colors. Now this is a bad example because this one I didn't squeeze it correctly. What I should have done is I should have started with the lightest color to the darkest. So I usually like going all my yellows, my reds, browns, greens, blues. Make sense? This one here shouldn't be here. It should be about here. We should swap. So yes, that's how I usually use my watercolor setup. That's how I set up my palette actually. And we'll move on. So we've talked about paints, we've talked about palettes, we're going to talk about brushes next. So with brushes, very simple. Let me just put things aside so that I don't get confused or knock over things, because I do have the tendency to knock over things. So yes, with brushes, there's many different types of brushes. There's this type of brushes whereby it's very rough and hard. This type of brushes, it's more suited for oil painting, acrylic painting, things that are quite, like paints that are quite thick and buttery and oily, and you've got to do like that crazy amount of washing. This sort of brushes will withstand that. If you do that with watercolors, you're gonna kill your watercolor brush. I like to use a size 8. Okay, actually I'll show you this brush. So I like to use a simple synthetic, so it's a fake hair made from plastic really, synthetic hair brush, a size 8. This brush is a bit wet, that's why it's not bouncing back, but a size 8 brush, pointy tip. I just use, I know I'm contradicting myself, and it might look like I'm lying, but I promise you, whenever I paint, I just use one brush. That's it, a size 8. With a size 8, I find that you can get, let me just quickly show you. I find that with a size 8, if you practice enough, you can get a really broad line as well as a really thin line, all with one brush. It's just how you hold your brush. It's quite a versatile size. For those of you who are after brushes, I do have a whole bunch for sale online. They're really good quality brushes. Whenever you buy brushes, they come with this plastic bit. Please do not poke it back in. It spoils the brush. It's only there to protect the brush at the start when you buy it from the shop. Once you take it home, take out this plastic cap and just throw it in the bin. And then use your brush. Whenever you use your watercolor brushes, always never leave them sitting in the pot like that, because that ruins your brush. Whenever you finish using your picture, whenever you finish painting, just wash your brush, dry it, and then just leave it like that. Always hair facing sky, upright, okay? So yeah, size 8 brush. I just happen to collect brushes. That's why I have a whole different variety of brushes. But yes, I like using a synthetic hair brush, size 8. Apart from that, I also use drawing pencils. I use, well, just a 2B really. I also use a pen. Whenever I do my packaging painting, I use both a pencil to start off with, and then I use a pen to finish it off, just so that it brings the picture together. It makes it more, you know, like, makes it more contrasty, I guess. Makes it look brighter and bold and fun. So yeah, I use this sort of pen. It's a sort of like a gel pen. Again, beauty blogger. If I was a real beauty blogger, I think everyone would be horrified. No one would watch my beauty videos, but because I don't use any makeup at all. But anyway, just a simple pen. I don't like those like point, you know, those pens that look like that. Let me show you. Whereby the top bit is like a little, almost like a squishy, spongy line kind of thing. I don't like those sort of pens, because I find that if you press too hard, it breaks or something. I don't know. So I like using just like that, a simple pen like that. I got this from Officeworks. It's a 0.38, and it, very important, it needs to be permanent and waterproof. Because if it's not waterproof, the moment you put water over it, it all smudges. If you really don't have a pen, you can also use a Sharpie. So I use a pencil, I use a pen. I also use white pen. So once again, this sort of, you know, tip. The white pen is good for things like, say for example, I've got this packaging here. If I'm too lazy to paint that, I can just paint the whole thing blue. And at the end, I can use the white ink or white pen to write in that. Sometimes if it's like a very big or fat, you know, lettering, I can use a white paint, white ink. Or sometimes if I want to do like a highlight and stuff, I can use white ink too. What else? Oh, and the white ink, I forgot. White ink, there's two different types of white ink. There's white acrylic ink and there's white watercolor ink. I always use white acrylic ink. If you don't have any ink at home, if you've got acrylic paints, you can simply water down your acrylic paints to make acrylic ink. The reason why I use acrylic ink and not watercolor ink is because acrylic ink is more opaque, it's thicker, so it stands out more if I'm trying to go over like a colored area. If I just use watercolor ink, just imagine you put water onto water, it's just gonna all blend into one. Okay, so I use this. There's different brands, you don't have to use this brand. And one more thing about materials, paper. Whenever you're painting with watercolors, there's a whole bunch of different papers out there. Whenever you go to a shop, they will probably ask you whether or not you're after hot press paper or cold press paper. The difference between hot and cold press. Cold press, just remember, oh, you're cold, you're shivering, you've got goosebumps, it's pretty rough. Rough paper. Make sense? The surface of the paper, it's textured, it's rough. That's why it's called cold press. If it's hot, just remember, hot, you're ironing it out, it's nice and smooth and flat. That's why it's smooth paper. So hot press paper means smooth paper. Cold press paper means paper that's rough, that's textured. Make sense? Again, personal preference. It's up to you what you like to use. I like to use hot press paper. I like it super smooth. And yes, there's all kinds of watercolor paper out there. As different countries make different types of paper. You've got Japanese papers, Italian, all kinds really. I like to use Italian papers and I like to use French papers. But if you're starting out and practicing, start with very basic, I guess, watercolor paper. In fact, today I'm not even using watercolor paper because I'm showing you a quick demo. I'm using well, they're sort of like a watercolor paper, but not really. It's heavyweight cartridge paper, so it's an all-purpose paper that I'm using. It's very good if you're starting out and you're practicing and you are new to this whole watercolor thing. I've got packs of it online. You can get the painting paper, so I use that for quick sketches, for quick demonstrations and stuff. It's very thick. Okay, your watercolor paper always needs to be thick, because if it's not thick, what happens is it will tear. With watercolor painting, you're pretty much putting water onto it, and if you use a very thin paper, the more water you put, the more your paper will warp. If your paper still warps even though you're using a very thick paper, don't worry about it. Put it under a few books and leave it, and then it should be fine. But yeah, always remember, a very thick piece of paper would be great. If you have a very thin piece of paper, trust me, it's not fun to paint with. Alright, let's move on. We've covered all your materials. Very good. I hope that was not like info overload. We'll move on to my golden rules, which are these. I know it says 3 golden rules, but I'm going to split it up into 4 golden rules today. It's pretty much the same thing, just that on my notes I've combined like 2 rules into 1. So rule number 1, always remember, watercolors, watery. That's what I used to get told by my teacher. It simply means if you are painting with watercolors, the last thing you want is to paint it really thick. So I don't know how this will work, but I'm gonna try, okay? I'm gonna paint it and show you. I'm not good at painting upside down, but we'll try. So this is way too thick. Can you see? It's like, oh, like really thick and heavy and just no. With watercolors, you want it to be soft. There you go. See? Soft. Okay? Example, if you have a line. Okay, if I were to paint it really thick, you won't be able to see the line anymore. However, if I add a bit more water to dilute it, it's much softer. See the difference? This one is really thick, yeah? Not good. Whereas this, it's soft. It's slowly dripping, because usually when I do this, I don't lift it up, but I don't know how to flip my camera down, but never mind. I think you understand, right? If you don't understand, just text me. So the idea is, watercolors, watery. You don't want a really thick and heavy, like almost like you can't, like if this was a mask over your face, you can't breathe through it. You're like going, yeah. Whereas this, it's kind of like, you can still breathe through it. You want a very breathable look. Watercolors should look light, should look airy, it should look breathable. So watercolors, watery. Now, the next thing, very important, is whenever you paint, you want to leave gaps. So for example, I'm painting an apple. Okay. I've drawn a very simple apple. It looks like, I don't know, a butt. But anyway, let's move on. Let me show you. If I were to paint an apple, like if I had zero experience painting, I would go, oh, okay, apple is red. Okay, I'm just gonna paint it then. I'm just gonna paint it really perfect, because you know most adults would do that. They will go, ooh, must be very neat. Okay, nothing wrong with being neat. But I'll explain later on, okay, how to actually let go. Now, this is a perfect apple. However, it's very boring. It's very flat, and it's just red. What you want to do instead is you want to paint it this way. Okay, so a little bit of watercolors and then a bit of water, and you can pretend that an imaginary light is shining through, and on the apple there's a bit of a reflection. Where there's reflection, you try and leave a gap. Okay? This is not a very, very good example yet because I haven't moved on to the next stage, but I'll show you at the end how you make a really nice looking apple. But see, where there is a gap, or rather where the light hits and there's reflection, you leave a bit of a white-ish gap. And yes, I know sometimes it might bug you, like it looks like a hole. Don't worry, wet your brush, dry it so that it's not dripping, and you can smoosh it a little bit so that it sort of looks blended, a little bit blended, okay? Now, this is still very wet, so it's hard to tell, but the idea is you want to leave gaps where the light shines. When you're painting packaged items, this doesn't quite apply because with packaged items, you don't really leave any gaps. But when you're painting things like apples, a pear, a glass bottle, you want to intentionally leave gaps so it creates that reflection. It makes it look more three-dimensional as well. So yeah, 2 rules so far. Watercolors, watery, yeah, the first one. And then the second rule, you want to leave gaps, okay? Only when it's applicable. So when packaging painting, you don't leave gaps. But when you're painting fruits and things and fishes and stuff, yeah, you leave gaps. The third thing is when you're painting, you always try and mix your colors. The third rule is to mix your colors. I know the green looks beautiful. If I want to paint a green leaf, don't just pick up some green and paint, okay, leaf, done, green, nah, boring. What you want to do is you want to try and mix your green. See, this is the green straight from, it's very reflective, okay. This is the green straight from the tube or from the pan. If I add a bit of yellow to it, it makes it brighter. Can you see? Okay, so I'm going to paint a whole bunch of different greens for you to see on the paper. This is straight from the tube, this one that I'm painting now. Adding a bit of yellow to it. Okay, I can even add some red to my green to make it a bit more brownish. I can even add some blue to my green, make it a bit darker. I can even add some brown to my green. Okay, make it a different green. So as you can tell, you want to mix your colors. You don't want to just stick with, oh, it's green, I'm using green straight from the tube. Think about mixing your colors a little bit. See, from one green, I've mixed it with different colors and I get a whole bunch. It makes it more interesting. Okay, so always mix your colors if you can. Don't just use, you know, yellow straight from the tube if you can. Now, back to the apple. I know the apple looks a bit disturbing at the moment. It looks very strange. So I'm going to show you with all these rules combined how to paint a nice looking apple. I'm going to put this apple aside first. So when you paint an apple, very easy. think of what's the lightest color first. I guess red. If you look at an apple, it's not like just pure red. If you look up close, there's some bits of yellow, there's some bits of orange. So what I usually like to do is I like to start off with a bit of yellow first. I like to use a very light color. Okay, so wet my brush, twirl my brush in the paint a little bit, and pick up some light yellow. Pick up more yellow, and I pretty much just paint the shape of the apple. I'm going to imagine that this part is where the light shines. There's reflection in that area, so I'm going to leave that area a little bit white. Okay, so this is the first thing I've done. Okay, once this is dry, I'm going to use the hair dryer. So this is a bit noisy because I'm going to speed it up, yeah? So don't mind the noise. Normally I wouldn't use a hair dryer. I would just let it dry. But for video purposes, I'm going to use a hair dryer. It's taking forever. Okay. Once it's about 80% dry, it doesn't have to be 100% dry. Once it's somewhat dry, I can move on to the next color. I take a bit of my yellow once again, add a bit of red to it. So it's a bit orangey. Now, this second layer, or the next step basically, I'm going to use this darker color and I'm going to correct my shape a little bit. I'm going to make my shape a little bit neater. Maybe the apple was a bit flatter at the base. Okay, a bit rounder here. So pretty much correct my shape and then paint over it again. Don't forget, don't paint over the gap. Leave the gap there. And I can use some water. There's a jar of water here, you can see. I keep using the water to smoosh it out, to spread it out basically. Instead of picking up more paint to paint, I wet my brush and I spread it out using the water, not so much the paint. So this makes it still light and airy, okay? Again, this layer is done. Dry it again. Okay. And then the third layer is when I start bringing in the colors, the actual color of the apple. So obviously my apple is not this faded orangey looking thing. So I'm going to use a bit of red, mix it to the orange that I was using. Or I can just, just use red straight up. Add a bit of a darker red maybe. Mix it with a bit of brown maybe. I think I want to use a bit of a darker red. And then start painting it in again. See what I'm doing is I'm painting it and then I'm using some water and I'm smooshing it out. Putting some red, using some water, spreading it out. Okay, again, picking up some red, washing my brush, making sure it's still a little bit wet, not dripping, using the water. I smoosh out the red. I blend out the red. Okay? And still keeping that gap there. Okay, I know the gap is starting to annoy you because it looks like that now. It looks like a big meteorite has just hit and gone through the apple. But it's fine. Just trust me. Keep going. And then you can also use a darker red now to start adding in things like the tone, the shadows, the dark bits. So you start off first, the lightest color. Just as a base, draw your base shape in. That's your first step. Second step, you pick out darker color to correct the shape. Yeah, so first, okay, so let me start again. First step, you use a base color or light color just to mark out the shape of your object and paint it in. That's it. That was the yellow part. Second step, you take a slightly darker color and you correct the shape of the object that you're drawing. Third step, you're going to start mixing the actual colors of the thing that you're painting and you're going to paint it in. And the fourth and the fifth and the sixth step, or rather fifth, sixth, seventh layers or however step or layers, whatever you want to call it, you're going to mix even darker colors and you're going to add the shadows, the dark bits. Okay? See, I'm even using some dark brown with my red now. See, for the darker bits of the apple. Just so that your apple doesn't look like a flat red, okay? So I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going in a few, adding more and more dark bits to my red apple, so that at the end of it, you can see how an apple is painted. Let me show you. Sorry, I haven't used these watercolors in a long time since Louis was born, so they're a bit dry. So I've had to rehydrate them a little bit. Watercolor sets can last very, very long, years, if you take care of them, yeah? You just need to hydrate them with a bit of water. So you can see a bit darker as well. So paint the dark bits where you see it, I guess. If you're looking at the apple and, oh, the top bit looks a bit darker, then you paint it dark. Add a bit of a darker red on top. Okay? And once you've sort of finally, you know, you're happy with your apple, you're sort of thinking, oh, okay, I think I'm finally done with it. I'm sort of finished with my apple. That's where you attack that meteorite hole. Wet your brush. Okay, it's not dripping. And you're gonna just gently blend it. See? Hold on, wait, let me, because the paint is, the moment I lift it up, it's dripping, so it changes it, but let me just paint it here. If you're working it flat on the table, you will understand and you'll be able to see it, but because I'm lifting it up, the paint drips down, so it changes it. I'm gonna dry it and I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna add a little stamp. Okay, this is somewhat dryish, so you'll be able to see. But see how that hole is not as pronounced anymore? So basically, I started with a very, very light base of yellow, and I'm slowly working it up in layers. Watercolor painting is all about layering, layering, layering. You always start off with the lightest color for your first layer, and then you move on to the second layer by editing the shape, neatening up your shape of the object that you've painted. And then the third layer is about adding in the right colors. The fourth, fifth, sixth, and however many layers after that is all about bringing in the shadows, the dark bits, the light bits. Some adults have asked me, how many layers do I need for a painting? Well, it really depends. If you're painting an orange, or not orange, let's say you're painting a lemon, it's yellow, there's not really a lot of layers that you're going to be adding to it, because there's not much really. However, if you're painting things like a fish, whereby it's very glossy and there's scales and there's different colors and there's different shadows and dark bits and light bits, of course, there will be many, many layers compared to a simple lemon. Does that make sense? So I can't tell you exactly how many layers you'll need per painting. It depends on the object that you're working on. Okay? So now that you know how to do, or rather, now that you know my 4 simple steps about watercoloring, watercolors, watery, always leave gaps, always mix your paint colors, and working in layers. It's all about layering, layering, layering. With these 4 tips in mind, you're gonna move on and we're gonna paint a package item. So I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna put all these aside first because we don't need it. So I'm gonna show you how to actually paint a package item, something like that. I know this is a bit strange, but I've got my Korean, Japanese curry over here. Yeah, I like Japanese curry, so let me get a new piece of paper. I'll be back. Give me 1 second. So this is a what am I talking about? Korean curry stew. I've got this little packet over here, and I'm gonna show you how I would do a packaging painting using this this thing. Of course, you don't have to use curry. You can use anything you want: chicken stock, frozen peas, a box of ice cream, anything goes really. I'm gonna show you using this how to actually create a package item painting. So first thing first, if you look at my work, it's very, very whimsical. It's very freestyle. It's very loose. Nothing is too neat. because I feel that you want to just have fun and just loosen up a little bit. If you're too neat, then it wouldn't look good. So what we do is, looking at this package item, you're going to spend about what? Maximum 5 minutes just drawing it. So very, very quick. You don't have to be neat. Just a quick sketch. See how I'm working super duper fast, yeah? I'm starting by drawing my main shape first. And then I see, oh, I see this line over here. I'm going to draw that line. I don't even mind that, you know, I don't even use erasers, basically. When I work, I don't use erasers. Okay, so I'm just drawing that curve. I know that there's a bit of a circle, oval thing over here. So I'm just going to draw that oval. I know that this has a big dish over here, rice. So I'm going to draw that big plate. And if along the way you make a mistake, don't worry. Just adapt. Sometimes I change up my things. I've done a lot of commissions in the past, worked for magazines and things, and I painted a lot of package items. And sometimes the packaging, even though the packaging is a girl, I've changed it to a boy and no one really knows, and it's gone to print. The thing is, your eye works in a very funny way. With packaging, as long as the title, the main colors, the main shapes are there, you can change things up a little bit. This is rice, you can change it to noodles. That's, you know, I don't know what that means, but you can change it to, I don't know, even if you add an extra stroke, I think it will be fine, just that it won't make sense. You can change it, instead of low fat, you can change it high fat. So have fun when you're doing your packaging drawings. Even like the logos, you can even change up and write your name instead and stuff. So basically, just do a very, very quick sketch. Spend 5 minutes, not pressing too hard with your pencil, just very, very light, very quick. I'm not going to sit here and draw because it's going to take a while. So I've already drawn one in advance. So see how it's super sketchy, or I know it's not super sketchy, but the idea is to make it super sketchy. So yes, very, very quick and easy. Now that I've got my drawing ready, I'm gonna start painting. When you paint, very easy. Make sure you've got your paint pot. Okay, I'm gonna get new fresh water actually, because that water looks a bit ugh. With watercolor painting, you always want to make sure that your water is nice and fresh, because if not, the more you paint, the more brown your picture is gonna get. It's gonna look like a piece of poo at the end. So fresh cup of water, paper towel so that you can dab your brush dry. You just need your brush and your paint palette and you're all set to go. So first thing first, maybe I'm gonna, oh, but I can't put it here because I can't see. Never mind, I'll put it like that. So first thing first, I'm gonna look at my picture and go, okay, I'm gonna start with the lightest color apart from white. Usually even though your picture is white, some packaging is white in color, I like to use a bit of a gray. Okay, so I like to use a bit of a gray just to paint over the white so that it doesn't look like I've just left it without it being painted because it will look a bit funny. So I find that even though I use a really light gray, the gray helps to bring the picture together at the very end. It makes it look finished. Rather than I paint everything else except the paper bit that's white, and then you will look like a bit unfinished, if that makes sense. So even if it's white, you want to add a bit of gray over it, just so that you get a nice tone. Okay, so dry this. Again, I don't use hair dryer, but I'm speeding it up today. So yeah, watercolors, it's a very patient activity. So sometimes for me, I like working on several pieces at a go. So while waiting for this to dry, I'm working on another painting, and while that's waiting to be dried, I work on the other one again. I will come back to this. So yeah, I would encourage you to do that if you can. So once your first layer, or rather your first bit is dry, you're gonna move on. So I've already done the white by adding some gray. My next color is gonna be the yellow, because yellow is still quite a bright, light color, I guess. So mix a bit of yellow. Now the yellow that I've got from my tube is very, very bright like that. I want to mix a bit of orange to it so that it doesn't look too like a highlighter color, I guess. And I'm gonna just quickly very much paint it in. Where there's yellow, I pop the yellow in. And you don't have to be super neat, yeah? When you paint, it's okay if your paints go beyond your drawing lines a little bit. In fact, if you look up close at my work, you'll realize that a lot of my paints extend beyond my line work. My lines are never straight. My lines are always a bit wonky, but that makes it more fun because it makes your work look more like it's got its own character, I guess, rather than it being all super straight lines and neat and perfect. That makes it boring. So yeah, that's why I say that, you know, you don't really need an experience for painting, because if you stick to all these steps and you do it bit by bit, follow my instructions, at the end of the day, you'll be surprised at how beautiful your painting will look, because it's not perfect. It's not meant to look perfect. And because it's not meant to look perfect, anyone can paint. If you follow the instructions and do the methods properly, you'll be surprised that your painting actually looks proper. Am I making sense? No, maybe not. But anyway, let's ignore me. Sometimes I say things that I don't know what I'm saying as well, but anyway, just keep going. So yeah, I painted the yellow bit already. I don't worry about, when I paint it, I don't have to worry about, oh, but this part here is lighter than that part, you know, I'm going to blend it all in. Don't overwork your paintings. It's okay if that part here is lighter than that part. Come back to it later, okay? So I've got my yellow in. I'm going to add some yellow to the rice as well, because the rice is not like, if I look at the packaging, the rice looks a bit creamy colored. So a bit of yellow, just tiny tinge, a bit of orange again, just tiny bit, a bit of water. Water acts as my white. Okay, the more water I add to my paints, the lighter my paints will go. Okay, that's a bit orangey, but just a little bit. Can you see? Yeah. And then I'm gonna add all my carrots, and I'm gonna paint all my carrots and my potatoes. I'm gonna start mixing my colors a little bit. I can add a bit of brown to it. So basically, whatever colors I see on the packaging, I'm just gonna plonk it right in. But of course, before I do that, I'm gonna make sure that I blend my colors a little bit, mix it, have fun, experimenting, you know, change it up a little bit. Somehow on the packaging, the brown looks a bit greenish, so I'm gonna add a bit of green to my brown. Though that looks a bit moldy looking, but it's okay. That's what the packaging is like, so I'm gonna follow the same. So yeah, I'm just gonna pretty much blob the colors in. I'll show you up close in a bit. Okay, but if you can see, it's all very blobby and it's already dripping, so I'm not gonna lift it up. But the idea is just go with it. Don't worry about, oh, painting it really neatly. Nah, you just want a quick blob your colors in, and things like, oh, it's red. Okay, I'm gonna add red now. Mix my red so that you get a nice bright red. So you're just gonna keep going until you pretty much finish your entire painting. I think I might end up sitting here quite a while to do this picture, because I should have picked a simpler object or simpler item to paint. But never mind, let's try and see how fast I can go. But yeah, the idea is just keep going. If you see red here, you pop some red in. If you see blue there, you pop some blue there. If you see some salad leaves, you can pop the green there. So on and so forth. And don't worry about being super neat. It's okay if your lines are all a little bit wonky. Now, this one over here, it's really hard for me to paint it like using red paint and slowly outline it till I leave a bit of white. So what I'm gonna do is, if you can see over here, I'm just gonna paint it all red. Because once it's dry, I can use my white ink, or I can use my white pen to then write the words in. Does that make sense? So that is one way of doing it, like an easier way of doing it, I guess. Okay, so just keep painting. I've even realized that, oh, I've made a mistake. I haven't left any space for this word. So this word, you can just pretty much scribble somewhere else. I can change it to maybe writing it, and maybe I'll write it over here instead. So it says, okay, it says otogi curry mild, but I don't think I'm gonna write it because it's gonna look very warped, like very messy. So I'm just gonna do like a scribble and use a pen to write over it later. So see, like that. So you can also do things like that too, just a scribble. So you can tell, as you can tell from doing this so far, my way of painting is very, very relaxed. It's very chilled out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all about imperfection actually. The more imperfect it is, the nicer it's gonna look, because it's gonna look fun and not boring. Okay, the rim of the plate. Now I don't have gold paint, so I'm gonna use some orange and yellow instead for the rim of the plate. Okay, and I'm gonna use some orange for some yellow and orange for the stew. I'm gonna dry the cubes a little bit so that I can paint the gravy over it. I'm going to keep painting. I'm going to just paint it all brown. Spoon, bit of gray. All right, hey. Sorry, I didn't do a sped up version of this because I really wanted to show you guys step by step how I did it. So as you can tell, I've been working on it slowly, tinkering about. Somehow, I don't know why, but my camera makes the colors look very dull. Because I think my iPhone always changes it a bit funny. But as you can tell, see, it's quite rough, okay? I can keep going, but I can keep going and paint more and stuff and make it even brighter. I'm gonna show you really quickly just one or two bits how to make it brighter. So what I've done so far is I've just drawn the box. Once I finish drawing the box, I have painted it in. Whatever colors I see, I paint it in. And then I'm gonna show you how you can add your layering. Now the yellow, I painted only one layer. I can now use a second layer, make it a bit brighter. Okay, can you see? I can add a little bit on the side. And then wash my brush, dry it, and can you see? Okay, blend it in so that my box looks a bit more three-dimensional now. Can you see? Yeah, things like the green, the leaves of the salad, I can make it brighter as well. I can make it darker. I can add a bit of a darker green. Wash my brush and blend it in a little bit. Okay, my curry, I can make some bits brighter. Like my carrots, at the moment they look very dead, so I've mixed a brighter orange and I can make it a little bit brighter. Can you see? Okay, some of the brown bits, I can make it a bit browner as well. So I work in layers, if that makes sense. Okay, my rice, I can add a bit more shadow on some bits. Oh, that's a bit too much. So just wash my brush and take it up again. Pick up the paint. Okay, my gray spoon, I just want to add a bit more gray on the side. So it's all very, very rough and very, very, you know, working in layers. Nothing too neat. Very imperfect, actually. Once this whole picture is dry and once you've worked on enough layers, I'm just going to quickly dry it again. okay, somewhat dry. I usually would wait for it to be 100% dry, but I just want to do it quite quickly so that you can start painting. But once it's somewhat dry, this is where once it's very dry, I can then use my pen, and I can use my white ink, and I can use my white pen, oh there you go, to add in the little details. So I'm going to show you, when you add in your details, don't be super neat, okay? You can go all wonky. See, I'm doing it quite fast. My lines go a bit wobbly. It's totally okay. Okay, this is the fun part because you can add in all the text, all the dietary requirements and things. Things like the rice. Earlier on, I didn't show you guys how to do the rice. I just show you how to paint the rice. But how do you make it look like rice? Now, this is where you can add texture. You can add all your dots and line work. So like for rice, I like to add little curly whirly bits. Sometimes I draw little grains. I'll show you. I just want to draw this first so that you can see it in a bit. And then you can add little dots. I'm just going to do the spoon so that you don't get confused. You can add little dots to it to make it look grainy, if that makes sense. Can you see my rice? So I've added some little grains, I've added some curly whirly lines, and I've added some little dots. All your text, you can outline everything, or like the logo, not the text. And when I outline it, I try and make my lines go a bit off what I've painted so that it gives it a bit more of a raw look, a more fun look, nothing too perfect. Okay, can you see the way I've done my logo? Yeah, the lines go off a little bit. I can also use my white pen or my white ink to add in now. This one is not working too well today because I haven't used this in a long time. You know, having a baby, you end up not being able to paint much, especially when your baby wants to eat your paint pot. But yeah, the white my white pen is not working too well, so you can tell. So I'm going to try and use the white ink instead. So you can use the white ink. Yeah, okay. Make sure your brush is super clean and dry. And then dip it in. Okay, can you see? There you go. So that's how you use your white ink or your white pen. So yeah, pretty much just go over the whole thing. You can even draw things like, oh, the meat, it has texture. You've got lines on the meat because obviously the meat is not just one cube like a carrot. So outline everything, add in as much details as you can. Okay, add in all your floral pattern on the plate. The words otogi, curry. Okay, draw everything in. So on and so forth. And at the end of the day, you should get, well, this is not done, but at the end of the day, you'll get a really fun package item painting. You can even add things like a shadow, a bit of gray with a bit of, maybe I'll mix it with a bit of orange actually, because this whole box is quite orangey looking. I can add a bit of a shadow at the bottom so that it looks like standing. Oh, sorry, my shadow is a bit off, but the idea is there. Okay, so I would love to see what you guys come up with. I hope this painting activity has been fun. Raid your pantry, raid your toilet, raid your entire house since you're all at home anyway. You can look through and see what's in your bag, and you can paint all your fun package items. Pick things that are bright and colorful. Things like that can be quite fun. Like I've done a drawing, but I haven't actually painted it in. I'll attempt to paint it later on. But yeah, have a look online and see some of the other paintings that I've done. And if you have any questions at all with watercolors, don't forget to email me, ask me any questions. Even take a photo of your work and send me an email and say, look, I've done my painting to this stage. What else can I add? How do you think it's done? Like how can I improve on it? Just remember, don't be overwhelmed. I know this lesson is pretty long and there's so much info so far, but because I'm trying to jam 3.5 hours into this like 50-minute video clip for you guys. So yes, please bear with me. So yeah, just don't get overwhelmed. Have a go. Just remember, very, very important, when you're painting with watercolors, it's all about layering. That's essentially what watercoloring is all about. It's all about layering, layering, layering. You start with a very light color. So basically, let me start again. You basically draw your picture. Once you've drawn your picture, you start with the lightest color. That's your first step. Once you've done your lightest color, you then move on and correct your shape a little bit by using a darker color. Once that's done, you then add in all your other colors, and then you pretty much move on to the next layer, next layer, next layer. The next few layers is all about adding the shadows, the darker bits, the lighter bits. Maybe you want to make this part here a bit darker, add more paints to that, mix up your paints. And once everything is done, you outline it, and voila, you've got your finished painting. Simple, simple. Always remember your 4 tips, which are in your notes. And again, if you have any questions, email me. I hope this class has been useful. Yes, it feels very different not being able to be there to help you guys in person, but I hope this class is useful in a way. Yes, spread the word about my classes if you can. And I hope you guys have all enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching, for downloading my class. Have fun painting. And don't forget to tag me on Instagram if you finish your painting so that I can see, because I love seeing your creations. My Instagram is Handmade Love. You can tag Dawn Tan Watercolor Class or Handmade Love and I'll be able to see it. Bye-bye, my friends. See ya. Bye.